Good evening and welcome to another episode of Torrevieja Talk. We are here, it is myself, Paul, the owner of FootballManagerCentral.com.
It's Paul,
Chris,
yes.
Commercial Director at... this has gone well already. I've just butted in, I've come back and look at me trying to take over the show.
No, I left the gap because I thought you were going in second like we used to.
I think we might just sack you both. Go on, Chris, you go first, son.
Chris, Commercial Director from CD Torrevieja.
And Paul Squires from the fellow Pena to the FMC, the Merseyside Socios in Torrevieja.
Fantastic, and I hope people enjoy this episode of Torrevieja Talk with Chris back on and Paul, as always. So let's get into it. We've had another week of Torrevieja action, Paul.
Yeah, okay, so not a great result. For those that don't know, we got beat 3-1. We were away at Novelda, and you can actually see the highlights are up online. Paul? I believe they're in the notes.
Yep, people can find the highlights in the description below, whether you are watching on YouTube, iTunes or SoundCloud. Just check below and watch the highlights once we have finished talking. Chris, you didn't manage to get to the game.
No, I wasn't there on Sunday, but I've been thoroughly debriefed by everyone that was there. That winning streak that we were on didn't last very long, sadly.
Winning streak. It was disappointing, but what I will say, people need to stay positive. We've never had a much good luck against Novelda, and definitely away from home, Chris. So it was never a game we went into thinking this is going to be an easy 3 points. And it turned out to be a very, very tough game. Novelda definitely pushed us, and people will see when you check out the highlights below. It could have been 6-3, it could have been 7-4. It was definitely an end-to-end game.
Yeah, I mean, that's been the problem of our season so far, really, is the fact that in spells of games, we've played well in sort of moments, created chances, but we just haven't been clinical enough to take the chances that we created. And we've also not strung a period of play together for long enough to really sort of dominate a game. Even in the win against Muro last week, there were periods of the game where Muro, even with 9 men, probably were slightly on top of us. So the consistency for 90 minutes hasn't quite sort of bedded in yet. And certainly we need to be a lot more clinical in front of goal. But then we haven't won at La Magdalena in the last 6 occasions, I think. Somebody might correct me. I might be wrong on that stat. But we certainly don't traditionally do well up at Novelda. That was where our playoff dreams finally came to an end last season. So I think when we were looking at the early fixtures, we knew this was going to be a difficult one anyway. But I think we hoped we would have had more than 5 points on the board by the time we were going up there.
Well, I think 7 games played now, won 1, drew 2, lost 4. It's not the start we wanted, but there's still a long way to go in the season, Chris.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you're right. It's only 7 games in, so these things can change very quickly. And for those that have looked at the league table, it's clear to see that a couple of wins back to back, and suddenly you start to move up the league quite quickly. So all is not lost just yet for sure. There's still been some positive performances. There's still been some sort of positive things coming together within the team. But at the end of the day, you've got to be realistic about it. Things do need to improve, and soon, if we are going to start generating enough momentum to move up to the table and hopefully towards the sort of the playoff places.
Definitely.
You can't hide the fact that we're 4th bottom for a reason. So,
Paul, am I right to say that Oscar was in goal at the weekend?
He was.
Can I just ask you, Paul, just your opinion on this? Obviously, the backup, if we should call him a backup, goalkeeper obviously played against Villarreal, got himself a clean sheet. And now this is, in my own personal opinion, this is the 2nd game in a row now that Oscar has made a very clinical error, which is the first goal, which obviously people can see in the highlights below, which I will reiterate again. He steps to the left on the first goal, leaving himself a lot of space to have to dive across, and he just can't reach it. And it is such a simple error, same as what he did last week, which obviously we discussed with Jeff, and again, thank you to him for coming on last week. So, Paul, why are they still sticking with Oscar in goal? I mean, obviously he did well last year, but if someone's not playing well, surely they should be dropped.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, as you said, we discussed last week the fact that, this season Torrevieja brought in a second keeper, should we say, who was of top quality and who was going to challenge for the front. And he proved that when he got put in the team. Obviously, the game after being dropped, he come back, gets a clean sheet, but then, conceding 3 goals this time out. But the issue is, when you look at the goals, when you look at how they've been committed, doesn't sound the right word, but as you said, in the past we've talked about he is very prone to jumping out, he's very prone to coming out of his area too soon and leaving himself open. It's almost as if he's done the exact opposite this time, and he's made a nervous, conscious effort to stay on the line, move side to side rather than forward, and that's what's left him exposed from that ball coming across.
I mean, we said this last week, and we are going to say it again. We are not playing in the Liga. We are not playing in the Barclays Premier League. So we don't want to jump on the players and say, oh, well, what a poor error that was to make. Because at the end of the day, it wasn't error, but at this level, errors and mistakes are going to happen. It's frustration more than anything, because he was clearly at fault in the last game, and then for him to retain his place this game, and for them to be a couple of issues again, I genuinely am hoping, and I know from inside the club, Chris, you don't want to obviously say too much, but is there any word on a goalkeeper change in the next game?
Well, not that I've heard, and I actually would be very surprised. I mean, for every mistake Oscar has made this season, he has then made probably 3 or 4 top class saves.
There was a double save he did make in the game, so yeah, correct there, Chris, yeah.
I mean, for me, Oscar, in terms of shot stopping and all parts of goalkeeping other than using your feet, Oscar is still, for me, one of the best goalkeepers in the division. When you then add in his ability on the floor, well, look, at the end of the day, if he was as good on the floor as he is with his actual hands, then he wouldn't be playing for Torrevieja. He'd still be playing a good level of Segunda B football. So there has to be a little bit of sort of slack cut for him there. But yeah, can't hide from the fact that a goal was his fault. He'll be the first one to hold his hands up and admit that, and then it's down to Pedreño to decide whether he feels it's worth giving Miguel another game or not. I don't know, but I would be very surprised if we did see a change in goal this weekend.
Yeah, I think it's just obviously when the backup keeper comes in, he keeps a clean sheet away from home against a good Villarreal third team. Obviously, you just kind of think, me and Paul both said, we kind of felt a bit bad for him that he got dropped after keeping a clean sheet. But Paul, I mean, is there anything else from this game you want to discuss? Any stats which have standed out? What time during the game was substitutions made?
Well, that is a pretty key one, to be fair. I mean, the one thing that stood out straight away when he announced his team sheet is for the first time this season, he's only made one change. He dropped Beguillos and brought in Ricardo Cavas in defence.
He's obviously listened to our show last week.
Yeah, so that obviously says that he was very comfortable with the side that he put out last week that beat Muro. He was very comfortable going into this game. However, when he come onto the substitutions, the guy he brought in, Ricardo Cavas, he took off at half-time. So, and brought on an extra midfielder. So, does that say that straight away the decision that he'd made wasn't working and he wasn't comfortable with it? I mean, the other two were pretty late on, 68 and 72 minutes when we wanted to change the game, literally just before we went 3-0 down. But yeah, that was the unusual one for me is only the one change to show that there was comfort with the 11 he had last week. But then making a change, pretty early on.
I think it's frustrating to say that we went 3-0 down, but I think people will see the game was end-to-end and we were up against a very good side. So, I mean, if we take the positives from it, it's still early on in the season. We don't look like a bad side. We look sloppy at the minute, but so do a lot of teams. So do Chelsea, Chris.
Yeah, it's kind of the standing joke that's doing the rounds, sort of with the English-speaking part over here, is the fact that we wanted to be Chelsea this season, and I think we're achieving that so far. But yeah, it's we've said it already. It's early in the season. There's a lot of football to be played. Every single cliche in the book around it. The fact is, we're fourth bottom at the moment, and that needs to improve. And I think everyone's still got complete confidence in the fact that we can improve that.
Just one thing, as you said, I mean, this is a long season and you've got to look at the positives. Let's look at the guys that we've played. I mean, we've played 7 games. 4 of them are actually holding the top 4 places. Montinian, Saguntino, Althea and Novelda. So we have been playing good quality sides that, in theory, we probably shouldn't expect to beat.
Well,
no,
we should,
that's true, actually.
If we want to go up, we should.
Yeah,
we
but
should.
I picked up on that myself, actually, looking at the league table. It suddenly dawned on me that, actually, we have had quite a tough start. But I think also, Paul, you're right in the fact that if we realistically do want to be playoff contenders, we have got to be picking up points off these guys. And the next 2 games are tough games. Crevalente are 8th and were doing quite well until they lost at the weekend. And then we've got Orihuela, who we don't traditionally do particularly well against. So the next 2 games are crucial games for us, but luckily they're both at the Vicente Garcia, so it's a good opportunity for everyone to get down there and get behind the team and hopefully try and lift everyone's confidence from plenty of support in the stands.
Fantastic. I think before we go on to before Paul gives us a rundown of the rest of the scores, I just want to quickly ask Chris, how's the pitch looking after the torrential downpours, etc., from the few weeks ago?
Absolutely fine. We've had a bit more rain actually over the last few days, so we're going through the 2-week rainy season in Torrevieja, which I know it's terrible.
You can see from the highlights all the brollies that are up and and how drenched the shirts are that they're playing. So it's not the normal Spanish weather we'd expect.
No, it's the pitch is in fine condition. I think the rates helped it.
Talking about the kits, I just want to get, as we have the commercial director on here, I just want to jump on you, Chris, and just say what is happening. They're still done in the old strips.
Well, no, actually, they wore the new Adidas shirts for 2 games, but because we've now got a sponsor who won the 200 Club, Casada Fish and Chips, that strip's been taken away to have that sponsor printed on it. And it just hasn't come back yet, so that's why they're wearing last season's kit.
Do they know when it will come back?
Any day now, hopefully. But then in Spain, it's mañana.
Well, at least we'll be able to feel hungry every time we watch the team play.
Definitely.
Yes. Good
John,
fish and chips, though, by all accounts.
That's something to look forward to.
Yeah.
Paul, do you want to just run down the scores from the weekend?
Okay, so this is week 7. Atletico Saguntino 2, Torrelevante 0. Another week, another win, and another clean sheet for Saguntino. Jove Espanyol 1, Recambios Colón 3. 3 goals and 3 more points for the away side's impressive start to the season. Boreal 4, Benignan 0. There's one thing that Boreal, obviously we talked about in episode 1, guarantee its excitement. It's only the 2nd win of the season, and the previous one was also a 4-0 scoreline. Althea 2, Castellón 1, Ontinyent 2, Buñol 0. So Ontinyent got beat last week, dropping their complete 100% record, but they left it to the last 10-13 minutes to get both goals this week, so it was pretty edgy there. Muro 3, Orihuela 1, who we played last week and then who we played week after next. Crevalente Deportivo 0, Rayo Obense 1, Acero 1, Paterna 1, and then Villarreal C 1, Elche Ilicitano 1.
Fantastic. Before we just give a quick mention for the upcoming games, Chris, I just want to mention you're doing some work in the community, doing a bit of training.
Oh, yeah. I've just started doing a bit of coaching with some kids.
Now, is this for part of Torrevieja, or is this your own personal stuff?
No. In fairness, it's my own personal gig. Just to do a bit of coaching in the local community. It's something I did a lot of back in the UK. I'd missed it greatly since I've been here, and thought it'd be something that'd be good fun to do for some of the local kids. So, just doing a session on Saturday mornings for anyone. Well, I say anyone, but boys and girls of any nationality between the ages of 5 and 7 at the moment. Hoping to grow it a little bit bigger over the next sort of few months.
Fantastic. Well, good work. And
getting the community
involved. Go on, Paul.
Obviously, if we have a budding Leo Messi under your guidance, Chris, then I'm sure they'll get a Torrevieja contract stuck under the nose before anybody else can
well, indeed. And if they're available Sunday, then their luck might be in.
Right then, Chris, John, just finish us off by obviously just giving a talk about what is happening in the next few weeks.
Yeah, so as I said earlier, we've got 2 very big games coming up, which are being christened Los Clásicos de Sal part 1 and part 2. We're playing Crevalente and Orihuela, both of which are two sort of local rivals to us. And they're both being played at the Vicente Garcia 5 o'clock kickoffs for both games over the next 2 Sundays. But at the end of the day, the club really or the team really needs the support of the locals to get out there and really try and get behind them. Confidence has taken a bit of a battering again, having had another defeat. But 2 wins in the next 2 games changes the picture completely. So it would be great to get as many people down to the ground as possible, just to get behind the team, show them that everyone is still behind them. Forget all the sideshow entertainment that might be happening and might be going this for the next 2 weeks. This is purely about get down there, support the team, make as much noise as possible, bring your neighbours, bring your friends, bring the kids, just get everyone down there making as much noise as possible, because it's really important for the players just to be able to walk out when the game's about to start and really feel like there's people in the stadium who want them to do well. It does make such a difference.
Definitely. And it almost as if I have planned this to end the show this evening. I want to thank everybody who listens. I want to thank Chris and Paul, as always, for coming on. And people will be able to hear in the background now the Torrevieja anthem playing, which obviously, as Chris says, he wants to hear everybody singing at the next home games.